Monday. We'll be getting started at the top of the hour. Until then, listen to the stream beats. Music in the background. All right, everybody, our recorded show our live recorded show will start at the top of the hour. Till then, what you're listening to is Stream Beats. Stream Beats is copyright-free music for your live videos, your streams, your YouTube videos, made by streamers for streamers, and all put together by Harris Heller, who is the guy behind Alpha Gaming and Senpai Gaming, or Senpai Studios, I think. And he is, he's collected all this music together and had all these artists put the music together on a copyright-free basis, so that YouTube and Twitch and all those other platforms won't get mad at you for using it. So you don't have to ever worry about a copyright strike when you're using Stream Beats on your videos. And also, while we're getting started, I want to give a big shout out to Mo over at the Tabletop Bellhop. Mo is the OG when it comes to all things tabletop games, party games, board games, card games, classic games, new games, whatever, you name it, he's got it over at the tabletopbellhop.com. And you can find news about the industry, new games, rules, discussions, industry news, whatever, and a whole galaxy of people doing social media, from actual play sessions to all kinds of other discussions and analysis about the tabletop game industry. All right, so sit back and enjoy the music for the next few minutes, and then we'll get started around the top of the hour. Alright everybody, we're going to get started in just a minute, but before we do, a couple of announcements. Want to let everybody know the music you're listening to is from Streambeats, copyright-free music made by streamers for streamers. You'll never get a copyright hit when you're using Streambeats in your Twitch live video or your YouTube live video or recorded video. Also, want to let you know about Mo over at the Tabletop Bellhop. Mo is the OG when it comes to all things tabletop games, card games, board games, party games, classic games, new games, whatever. You name it, he's got it, and he's got links to all kinds of industry news, new releases, developers, all that kind of stuff, and a whole galaxy of people doing social media around games, from people doing actual play, podcasts, and live streams, and videos, to people who are interviewing industry movers and shakers and developers that are creating some of the greatest new games out there. Alright, we're going to turn down the music. And let's get this show underway. All right, everybody. Welcome to Monster Monday. My name is DM Gallibond, and this is Monster Monday for June 28th, 2021. Hope everybody is having a fabulous start to their week, and for those of you in the U.S., I hope you will have a wonderful, safe, and happy Independence Day this coming weekend. Have a lot of fun. Enjoy the mostly, where we are in the U.S., the mostly reopened Independence Day celebrations, and just be careful you don't blow your fingers off with too many powerful fireworks. All right, just enjoy your Independence Day celebrations safely, because we want you back here next Monday night for another Monster Monday. All right, tonight, June 28th, 2021, we are talking about the Iron Golem. The Iron Golem is our subject for the evening. And we're going to talk all about the history of the Iron Golem in D&D, and a little bit of the lore about how it's made, some of the real interesting information you get from some of the older sources, and also how some of that information may have changed over time. And then we'll also talk a little bit about how you can use it in your campaigns and different ways you can reskin this monster, and how you can deploy it. Tactics for fighting against it, tactics for using it against your party. Alright, so this is a picture of the Iron Golem out of 2nd edition D&D. And now there's not a description in 1st edition. So I usually start with physical descriptions. I start with oldest to newest editions, and with lore I go from newest to oldest edition. So the oldest description we can find of the Iron Golem is in 2nd edition. The Iron Golem is twice the height of a normal man, and it weighs around 5,000 pounds. And obviously, it's made of metal. 3rd edition, this metallic automaton is twice the height of a normal human and resembles an armored giant. And then in 4th edition, we learn, infused with potent toxins, Iron Golems thunder toward foes and bash them into mush. Okay, so very short and sweet and to the point. All right, now, what about the lore of an Iron Golem? This image here is the depiction of an Iron Golem in 5th edition D&D. I don't know about you, but the 5th edition Iron Golem looks a lot more like a transformer than the old Iron Golems do. I wonder why that would be. Maybe all the artists that grew up and created artwork for 5e were also influenced by having Transformers as kids. were drawing Transformers when they were kids. All right, so lore about the Iron Golem from 5th edition. An Iron Golem's body is smelted with rare tinctures and admixtures. Though other golems bear weaknesses inherent to the materials or the power of the elemental spirit bound within them, Iron Golems were designed to be nearly invulnerable. Their iron bodies imprison the spirits that drive them, and they are susceptible only to weapons imbued with magic or the strength of adamantine. And then lore about Iron Golems in 4th edition includes the following. Iron Golems are artfully crafted giant metal warriors. Potent toxins leak from holes in their exteriors. Hey, Skylin, great to see you. Yes, Transformers for the win. And from 3rd edition, we learn about Iron Golems. A magical attack that deals electricity damage will slow an Iron Golem, as will the slow spell, for 3 rounds, with no saving throw. And a magical attack that deals fire damage breaks any slow effect on the Golem, and heals 1 point of damage for every 3 points of fire damage the attack would otherwise deal. If the amount of healing would cause the Golem to exceed its full normal hit points, guess what? It gains any excess as temporary hit points. So, if you whack this buddy with a couple of magical sword attacks, and then you cast a fireball at it, not only have you probably healed all the damage that you just did to it, but you probably gave it more temporary hit points and just made it tougher. So thank you very much. Encourage your players to throw fireballs at your Iron Golems. They will hate you for it. But that's what makes it so much fun. All right, so now this picture here, we're going to talk about this monster specifically. This picture here is from the 3rd edition Monster Manual 2, where it talks about the Half-Golem. And that's a very interesting creature that I don't know that the Half-Golem appears in any other editions of D&D, but we learn all kinds of good stuff in 3rd edition. Now, the creature type, we talk about this every week. Every creature in D&D has a tag for a creature type. Basically, that means that most creature types have similar characteristics, either similar vulnerabilities or similar immunities. And for the Golem, it's a construct. And constructs are made, not born. Some are programmed by their creators to follow a simple set of instructions, while others are imbued with sentience and capable of independent thought. Golems are the iconic constructs. And many creatures native to the outer plane of Mechanus, such as Modrons, are constructs shaped from the raw material of the plane by the will of more powerful creatures. So, yes, this person here closest to us, she is the Iron Half-Golem, and then the other one over there is the Stone Half-Golem. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and look at the mechanical features of golems, and we're going to go back to the point at which they were introduced into the game. As I said, I couldn't find a description for the Iron Golem in 1st edition, but they actually did show up in AD&D in 1st edition. They have an armor class of 3, movement of 60 feet per round. They have 80 hit points, and they deal 1 attack, but that attack deals 4d10 damage. And back in the days of AD&D, anything that could hit you for 4d10 damage would really, really, really hurt. And the size of the monster is large. It's a 12-foot tall item. And we learn a little bit about how they're made. So construction of an Iron Golem requires a magical tome or a magic user of 18th or higher level employing the following spells: Wish, Polymorph any object, Gesh, and Cloud Kill. The cost in materials is 1,000 gold pieces per hit point, and it requires 3 months of construction time. So here is one option. If your party says, oh wow, we want to build a golem. Well, what kind do you want to build? You want to build an Iron Golem. Well, you can say, oh, okay, well, here's all you're going to need. And you could go back to the first edition rules and throw out this and tell them this is what it takes to build an Iron Golem. The golem created always remains under the control of the magic user who created it. It can obey any simple commands. It will stand non-functioning as a guard until some event takes place, like until the door is open or a book is read, whatever. In addition to striking, it will breathe out a cloud of poisonous gas 10 by 10 by 10 directly before it every 7 melee rounds. And the strength of an Iron Golem is 3 times that of a Flesh Golem. Iron Golems can do 1 point of structural damage per melee round. And back in these days, it says an Iron Golem can be struck only by magical weapons of +3 or greater enchantment. So in other words, if you have a +2 sword that you're really proud of and you hit it, it's not going to do anything to it. It's just going to bounce off of it and deal no damage. So the only magical attacks which affect the Iron Golem are electrical, such as Lightning Bolt, which slows the monster 50% for 3 melee rounds. Magical fire attacks repair damage on a 1 hit point for 1 hit point basis. Iron Golems are subject to attack from rust monsters. Okay, so they do have a weakness. But how many parties carry around a living rust monster in their bag of holding? Probably not many. So yeah, if you have a rust monster handy, you can send that against the Iron Golem. All right, so let's take a look at the Iron Golem in 2nd edition. So Iron Golem, again, armor class 3, movement 60, 18 hit dice, or 80 hit points, and again, 1 attack for 4d10 damage. THAC0, 2 hit armor class 0. The Iron Golem needs to roll a 3 on a d20 to hit somebody encased in plate mail armor. That's what armor class 0 gives you in that edition of the game. So, yeah. Good luck avoiding its attacks. It basically will pulverize you. Iron Golem is twice the height of a normal man, weighs about 5,000 pounds. It can be stylized. It cannot speak or make any vocal noise, nor does it have any distinguishable odor. It moves with a ponderously smooth gait at half the speed of a normal man. Each step causes the floor to tremble unless it's on a thick, solid foundation. So once again, it requires a +3 or better enchantment to hit it. Electrical attacks slow it. Fire repairs. Now, notice this. In this edition, fire attacks repair 1 hit point of damage for every hit die of damage it would have cost. So if you hit it with an 8 hit die fireball, it will repair only 8 points of damage. It won't repair the full damage the way it did in 1st edition. So that's a different point. And then the poison gas is a 10-foot cube, just like the other ones. But now the interesting thing is, it's just a poison gas, but it doesn't really tell us how much damage that poison gas does. So that seems like a bit of an oversight. Let's see maybe if, as we go deeper and deeper into the lore, if it finally tells us what this will do. Okay, 3rd edition, Iron Golem has an armor class of 30. Base attack of +12, base grapple of +28. Its slam attack is at +23, and it deals 2 slams, or its full attack is 2 slams, and it has a breath weapon. And the Golem is 12 feet tall, blah, blah, blah. They're mighty combatants. The breath weapon, 10-foot cube cloud of poison gas lasting 1 round. A free action once every 1d4 plus 1 rounds. Initial damage is 1d4 Constitution. Secondary damage is 3d4 Constitution. A Fortitude save of DC 19 negates the Constitution damage. So it doesn't deal hit point damage to you. It lowers your Constitution every time the poison hits you. So now imagine how terrifying that would be when you have your big barbarian standing toe-to-toe with this thing trying to attack it. And then there's a... okay, then here's an interesting thing for construction. 3rd edition gives us yet another take on how you construct an Iron Golem. All right, an Iron Golem's body is sculpted from 5,000 pounds of pure iron. So you need to first get 5,000 pounds of pure iron, then smelt it with rare tinctures and add mixtures that cost at least 10,000 gold pieces. Then assembling the body requires a DC 20 craft check, armor smithing, or a DC 20 craft check, weapon smithing. And then requires caster level 16th craft construct, which is an ability. Then the following spells are required: Cloud Kill, Gesh or Quest, and Limited Wish. And the caster of those spells must be at least 16th level. And the price to buy one is 150,000 gold pieces. The cost to construct one is 80,000 gold pieces and 5,600 experience pieces. So in this edition, the person who's going to build it has to sacrifice 5,600 XP in order to build the Iron Golem. Or they shell out 150 gold pieces to buy one. So that's the take on the Iron Golem in 3rd edition. But now let's take a look at the Iron Half-Golem in 3rd edition as well. It says, could you use mithril or adamantine to make a golem faster or stronger? Your table. You sure could. If you want to do that at your table, you would have to figure out, you'd have to figure out how much is it going to cost for them to get 5,000 pounds of mithril or 5,000 pounds of adamantine. There's not going to be anybody that's just going to give that away. And if they want to get that from some dwarves that mine it, there'd have to be something awful special they would have to do for those dwarves in order to be worth 5,000 pounds of that material. So, the answer is they could do it. The question is, what hoops do you want to make them jump through as the DM to allow them to do it? That would be the question. I would have to think long and hard if my party pitched that to me. Yeah. Okay. You want 5,000 pounds of what? Okay. What can you do for... What can you do for that? All right. So an iron half-goblin has an initiative of -1, speed of 30 feet. It cannot run. Has an armor class of 25, and then has battle axe plus 10 melee and a breath weapon. Construct traits. Let's see, where is the Iron Half-Golem? Limbs of an Iron Half-Golem appear bolted or riveted to the flesh. Irregular and haphazard iron plates join flesh and metal limbs. Limbs can be fashioned in any manner, just like those of a stone Half-Golem, although they usually appear armored. And then as a free action, Iron Half-Golem emits a cloud of poisonous gas from its limbs in a 10-foot cone directly in front of it. Lasts 1 round, and the limbs can emit another cloud every 1d4 plus 1 rounds. Initial damage is 1d4 Constitution, and secondary damage is death. Wow. Fortitude save, DC 10 plus 1/2 the Iron Golem's hit dice, plus the Iron Half-Golem's Constitution modifier negates both effects. And it's vulnerable to rust. And Iron Half-Golem is affected by rust attacks such as that of a rust monster or a rusting grasp spell. And then to build the iron limb, you sculpt it from 500 pounds of pure iron, again requiring crafting checks. Rituals cost 20,000 gold pieces and 400 experience points, and require the Cloud Kill and Gesh request spell. Attaching the limb requires the ability to cast 6th level arcane spells. So that would basically Iron Half-Golems, that's your 6 million gold piece adventurer. For those of you of a certain age that remember Lee Majors and the $6 Million Man, where Captain Steve Austin was nearly killed in an experimental plane crash, and instead of letting him die, they reconstructed him with bionic limbs that gave him superhuman strength and speed and all that other kind of fun stuff. So basically that's the Iron Half-Golem, is grafting golem limbs onto a living person, which could either be by choice, or if you have some evil villain like Dr. Moreau type of villain, they might do that to their slaves and then put their slaves under some sort of compulsion to serve them, which could be really interesting if your party comes along and figures out a way to break that compulsion. Ooh, they might want revenge against whoever did that to them. See, lots of ways you can use these kinds of things in your game. Okay, so now let's move to 4th edition. And in 4th edition, we have 2 different flavors of Iron Golem. We have the normal Iron Golem, which is a level 20 elite soldier, large natural animate or construct. It has the poison aura 10 feet out, noxious fumes. While it's bloodied, every creature that enters the aura takes 5 poison damage. It's got an armor class of 36, 386 hit points, a bloodied value of 193. And for those of you that aren't familiar with 4th edition, the reason they give you a bloodied value is because a lot of monsters have this kind of thing, something that kicks in when the monster goes in or gets bloodied. All right, so Iron Blade, reach 10 feet, plus 27 to attack. It's got a cleave attack, a dazing fist, a breath weapon, and a toxic death, which is a close burst 3 plus 25 versus fortitude, 2d8 plus 6 poison damage, and ongoing 10 poison damage. Save ends. So now that's another thing that they did in 4th edition that is not strictly by the rules, usually in 5th edition. There are very few things that do it, but a lot of stuff had ongoing damage from effects. And if you really want to be a nasty DM, or you really want to challenge a powerful party, you start throwing out things against them that do ongoing damage to the party and require them to save against that damage every round until they finally beat it. And if you really want to be nasty, let the monster do it more than once. So as soon as they save, it just comes right back again, and they have to save all over again. All right, so that's the normal Iron Golem. Then you have the Iron Golem Juggernaut, which is this thing that looks like a bunch of iron filings or chain links over here. Iron Golem Juggernaut is a level 26 elite soldier. Noxious fumes out to 15 feet or 3 squares. Has hit points of 488, bloodied value of 244, armor class of 42. And it gets the Iron Blade attack at 15 feet at a plus 33. Then it does the Cleave, the Dazing Fist, Breath Weapon, Toxic Death, and all of those damage numbers are a little bit higher than the standard Iron Golem. So, yeah, Iron Golem Juggernaut. Lots of interesting things there in 4th edition. Okay, now in 5th edition. In 5th edition, the Iron Golem has an armor class of 20, 210 hit points, a speed of 30 feet, and look at the damage immunities. It's immune to fire, poison, psychic, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks that aren't adamantine. So, if you have an adamantine weapon or a magic weapon, you can damage it. So you don't have to have a magical adamantine weapon. Then condition immunities are charmed, exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, petrified, and poison. Has dark vision out to 120 feet. Understands the languages of its creator or it cannot speak. And it is a CR 16 monster. So, now, it has fire absorption. So whenever the golem is subjected to fire damage, it takes no damage and instead regains a number of hit points equal to the fire damage. But notice in rules as written, in 5th edition, it doesn't gain temporary hit points if you overdo it. Doesn't mean that it can't do that in your game. It just means that if you put that trait in your game, the rules lawyers at your table are going to say, but it doesn't say that in the monster manual. And then you say, I'm the DM. Why are you looking at the monster manual? Okay. If they're smart, they'll shut up at that point. Okay. Then it's immutable form. The golem is immune to any spell or effect that would alter its form. So, that means that when somebody tries to cast polymorph and turn it into a cute little bunny rabbit, nope, doesn't work. It is immune to any kind of spell that would do that. Magic resistance gains advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. The golem's weapon attacks are considered magical. And it makes 2 melee attacks, which can be slams or swords. They're both plus 13 to hit. And the slam is a reach of 5 feet. The sword is a reach of 10 feet. The slam will deal 3d8 plus 7 damage. The sword will deal 3d10 plus 7 damage. And then it does have that poison breath. So it's a 15-foot cone, and every creature must make a DC 19 con save or take 45 or 10d8 poison damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. So now notice in 5th edition, that breath doesn't deal damage to your ability scores, doesn't reduce your constitution, but it just simply deals hit point damage. Now, does that mean that your Iron Golems have to do that? Your table. You can figure out how you want to mix and match the Iron Golem lore from previous editions and what you want to do with them. So it's blind obedience. When the creator or possessor is on hand to command it, a golem performs flawlessly. If it's left without instructions or incapacitated, it continues to follow its last orders to the best of its ability. When it can't fulfill its orders, a golem might react violently or stand and do nothing. And a golem that has been given conflicting orders sometimes alternates between them. It can't think or act for itself, though it understands commands perfectly, has no grasp of language beyond that understanding, and cannot be reasoned with or tricked with words. And because it's a construct, it doesn't require air, food, drink, or sleep. So throwing it in the river doesn't help because it'll just walk across the bottom of the river and come back and continue beating the snot out of you or breathing on you. All right, then let's go ahead and let us turn back to here and continue to look at the rest of this information. Okay, that's a weird artifact on that. And then I don't know why it did that. Okay, so Iron Golems. We talked about how in 5th edition they're a CR16 monster. So if you want to create a hard or challenging encounter with this monster for a party of 5 PCs, if you throw an Iron Golem at a party that is level 11 or 12, it will be a hard encounter. If you throw it at a party that is level 13 through 15, it'll be a medium encounter. If you want to make it a hard encounter for a level 15 party, you can add 1 clay column to the fight. And then at level 16 through 20, it will be an easy encounter. If you want to make it a hard encounter for a level 20 party, just add a 2nd Iron Golem to the fight. And that will get you to a hard encounter for a level 20 party. All right, now, if you are players and you have the joy of running into an Iron Golem. Oh, by the way, I should mention this image here is the baseline Iron Golem from 4th edition. And then this image here is the baseline Iron Golem from the 3rd edition Monster Manual, standing next to the Flesh Golem. So you size differential. Tactics for fighting against Iron Golems as players. Use your magic wisely. Don't fight an Iron Golem without magic weapons. You need magic weapons to damage the construct, and be careful about the kind of spells you use. It's immune to poison and psychic damage effects, as well as all mind-affecting spells, just like any other construct. And magical fire attacks actually heal it. So if you get a spell off against a monster, it gains advantage on saving throws against all spells. And it has an Iron Golem, or the Iron Golem has a poison breath weapon that is very potent and will hurt a lot if you get breathed on by it. So try to stay out of range of that. Now, what if you're behind the screen and you're going to use an Iron Golem against your party? And this, of course, is a picture of the Iron Golem from 1st edition. So Iron Golems are nearly indestructible. At least that's what their creators tell themselves. Any ancient wizard or villain that set an Iron Golem to guard or protect something of value expects it to simply smash any enemies that attack it. Now, if you're running the Iron Golem, be brutal and relentless with the attacks. Golems can't speak and they don't think. They only follow simple instructions like attack intruders or guard this room. Now, if you're worried that the party is going to get overwhelmed, you could introduce some comic relief. Like you're all but one of the party members are laying bleeding on the floor, and the Iron Golem is heading after the last remaining party member. Well, then maybe out of that little hole over there that looks like an oversized mouse hole, maybe a rust monster comes out. And the rust monster just goes up and starts rubbing its little tendrils on the Iron Golem's leg. And yeah, pretty soon, no more Iron Golem. So, and then it just kind of goes around, and maybe just to teach the party a lesson about taking on something they don't have any business taking on. While they're unconscious, maybe it eats a weapon or two, and then runs back in the hole. And by the time they wake up, it's gone. So yeah, you could do something like that. Yes, you're right. Yeah, Full Metal Alchemist and Rust Monsters are rough. Yes, Rust Monsters are terrifying to low-level parties who, you know, gee, how are we going to kill this thing? Any weapon we used against it is going to start to get disintegrated unless we whack it with the monk's or the wizard's staff or something like that, or use sling stones against it. All right, so now where would you place an Iron Golem in a campaign? And this, of course, is the image of the 5th edition Iron Golem. It's a good challenge for a Tier 3 party, which makes it an excellent guardian for a major sub-boss of a long-term campaign. So as a construct, these are always created and placed for a purpose, whether that is a bodyguard for a living person or a posted guardian either for someone who's away or someone who's long dead and just left this there, to guard whatever it was that they wanted guarded. So note that as written, Iron Golems don't have the independent thought capability or creativity to be sent out as hunters or trackers, nor can they speak or think beyond following very simple instructions. So in other words, don't get the bright idea that some wizard is going to build an Iron Golem and have it go track down the party and try to kill them. Golems just aren't that smart. They can't be used like that. If they are going to be mobile, they're almost certainly going to be traveling with the wizard that created them, or the sorcerer, or whoever it was that made them. And that's how you're going to find it when it's traveling. Otherwise, if you run into the golem by itself, it's probably guarding something, and an intelligent or a party that's kind of, oh, wait a minute, it takes a lot of resources to build one of these things. It must be around, it must be here for a really good reason. And of course, if you're that kind of DM, you can maybe just say that, the wizard who built it was sort of like the Elon Musk of wizards who had more money than they knew what to do with. And so they just thought it would be a cool joke to have it guard a random door somewhere. And so they get in this big fight. They fight against it. They go in the door and they find it's a broom closet. And there's nothing there. Oh man, they will tear that place up trying to look for secret doors and trap doors and all kinds of things. Because it's like, nobody would put a guardian like this here and have it not be there for anything. Well, yeah, Elon Musk might. Who knows? Yeah, you might have that kind of wizard in your campaign. Okay, now how would you reskin the monster? Okay, by the book, Iron Golems are simply brutal fighting machines, armor-plated and intimidating war devices, kind of like tanks were in World War I. You can just imagine that if you were somebody who was a combat veteran, maybe you had fought in the Crimean War where, yeah, there were cannons and there were cavalry and there were some artillery and whatnot. But if you saw other infantry, basically you just run at them shooting, and then if you get close enough to use your bayonets, you're still just kind of stabbing each other with the ends of your long rifles. And then suddenly you see this big armored behemoth coming rolling over the dunes towards you with a big gun mounted on top of it. Yeah, that probably terrifying to a World War I infantry person. That's kind of what an Iron Golem is like for your party members. Just this, oh crap, we got to deal with that thing. So now that's the way they're written by the book. But you, in your campaign, you could reskin them to be more like Warforged. Now, Warforged are those constructed creatures with souls that are a playable race. So they're capable of independent thought, and perhaps they're masters of their own destiny. Maybe you could even have a story behind a particular Iron Golem that some creatures from the plane of Mechanus found this Iron Golem, thought it was a slave, and somehow imbued it with sentience and independent thought. And now this Iron Golem has its own agenda, and it's out there doing whatever. You could do that. That could be a legitimate thing for an Iron Golem in your game. And what is that? People of a certain age, people who like a certain IP. That's exactly the same story of a couple of Star Trek episodes. Like in the old in the original series, Nomad, that probe that came on and thought that the crew must have been some sort of biological infestation, and Captain Kirk had to kind of trick it with something to keep it from killing everybody in the crew. And then the one that they did in that first movie where Voyager had been found by some kind of spacefaring race and given some sort of sentience and sent back, and it was destroying everything in its path along the way. So yeah, I mean, that could happen. So that could be what happens if the Iron Golem falls into the hands of the creatures from Mechanus. So then if you like to mix your IPs and influences, you could also introduce some kind of mechanical polymorphing capability that would present an Iron Golem as the D&D version of a Transformer creature. Okay, so yeah. Iron Golem in front of a broom closet is an epic troll. Yes, it is. See, this is why you come and you watch these things, Skylin, is to get ideas like that, because that's how my twisted brain works. All right, so so if you really want to have Transformer-like influences in your D&D game, which, hey, it's your game, you can do whatever you want. You could take the Iron Golem and make different variants of it, use the stat blocks of the other types of golems, ranging from the flesh golem to the clay golem to the stone golem to the iron golem and all the other variants in between, and then just say that they're all of a different race out there. And just like the Transformers, some of them might be better aligned with good races, and some of them might be better aligned with evil races. They might be influenced by the deities somehow, or they might have their own pantheon. Who knows? So you could just go to town and do anything like that. Okay. Now let's see. All right. Let me look at the chat. Do we have any questions on the? Hey Amish, good to see you. Do you have any questions tonight? All right, I'm going to go into the wrap-up, and then I'm going to double-check once again to see if we have any questions about the Iron Golem, and we will address those. Okay, I have been DM Gallibond. This has been Monster Monday, and I'm here streaming 4 times a week. Now I'm streaming on both YouTube and on Twitch simultaneously. That means the archives are available right away on YouTube, but it usually takes me a couple of days to go back through and add chapters and time stamps and get all the details and everything on the YouTube video. Normally, we have the Walker of Waterdeep, which is our Planeswalking 5th edition game on Sundays. And yesterday, for those of you who may have missed it, yesterday was session 100. So we played about half of our normal session, and then we spent the other half of the session going around the table and talking about our favorite memories from the first 100 sessions of the game. So if you have followed that show, that's kind of a nice way of going back and seeing what the players remember and what they think is great about the show. And if you do go and watch that episode, put in the comments below, put what your favorite memories from that show are. That would be wonderful. Then we will talk about those in a future session. Now, this coming weekend is Independence Day here in the US, so we will not have either our Saturday game or our Sunday game because I have conflicts both of those nights related to Independence Day. All right, then on Thursday of this week, we will have our Sword Coast Chronicles game. They are still in Barovia. They are still in the Amber Temple, but now they have met a total of 3 of the members of the legendary Circle of 8. They have been hanging out with Mordenkainen a little bit. They have also found Tensor and Adaluk in the Amber Temple. And they're about to find out why those 3 eminent persons are there in Barovia, and how it relates to the overall story of the game that they are playing. So, join in on Thursday night, and you will see how that all plays out. Then Saturday night, we're up to 7 sessions in our Saturday night Greyhawk game. Like I said, we won't be playing this Saturday, but they are in the dungeon level of the old moat house. They have defeated they have befriended the gnolls. They have defeated the bugbears, and they are fighting against the soldiers that are allied with Lareth, who is the new champion of elemental evil that is controlling the dungeon level of the old moat house. And in the last fight they had, the dwarven cleric actually used a heal spell and gave up 2 of his own healing potions to save 2 of their gnoll allies. Which means that among these gnolls, we might have some converts to the Church of Clangeddon. We might have gnolls in this game that start worshiping a dwarven god. So that is... See, that's the kind of thing that happens in my game. And it's like, you do something super creative, okay. Depending on what the dice say, maybe it works out. And maybe it works out in a way you didn't expect. All right, so let's go back and take a look to see if there are any questions. Okay. Then... all right, could you switch out Poison Cloud with Plague Swarm or Firebolt or Cone of Cold? Yeah, sure you could. You could easily do that. That is... You could have that breath weapon be any kind of breath weapon you want it to be. Now, if you make it Cone of Cold... then what I would do is I would maybe rethink the spell that recharges it, because it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense if it breathes cold that dealing fire damage to it would heal it. So maybe there's a different kind of maybe instead if it has Cone of Cold, then maybe fire damage will slow it and electrical damage will heal it. Something like that. Try to think about how changing one effect might alter other details about the monster. But yeah, sure, you could do it. You could do anything like that. Then yeah, Amish, it might wind up getting into conflict, wanting to do something besides guarding the broom closet, especially if the creatures from Mechanus get to it. It might very well decide, oh, I'm bored. I don't want to stand here and guard this thing. I want to go try cotton candy. And then it, wanders off and goes into a village, and everybody freaks out because this big, huge, giant metal monster is striding into the village. All right. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, I think we're going to go ahead and go to the end plate here. And I'm going to bring the music back up. And then I'm going to go look for look to see who is streaming tonight from our small streamers network. All right. It's a catchy little tune. Alright, small streamer community. Okay. Oh. Kylan is doing art. Art is always kind of a nice way to wind down on a Monday night. So we're going to go ahead and raid Kylan here. And tell her that we said hello. And enjoy the artwork that she does. All right, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful Independence Day if you're in the U.S., and if not, we will see you back on Thursday, and we hope we'll see you back on Monday night as well. Good night, everybody, and watch out for the monsters under the bed.